All right, today we're diving into one of the biggest shifts in tech that I've seen in a really long time. We're talking about the move from pretty simple AI tools to these incredibly powerful autonomous AI agents. And believe me, this isn't just some small update, it's a totally new way of doing things that's kicking off a brand new kind of gold rush.
And when I say gold rush, I am not exaggerating. This quote from investor Chris Camillo, it just nails the scale of what's happening. This is so much more than a new app. It's a completely new way to work, to build, and to create some serious value.
Okay, so let's get into it. Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at what this new gold rush actually is. Then, we'll talk about the huge shift from apps to agents. We'll define what an AI agent really is and how you should think of it as a new teammate. Then comes the fun part. We'll actually walk through building your first one. And finally, we'll talk about why this window of opportunity, well, it's closing way faster than you might think.
So think back to the dot-com boom for a second. That was all about trying to pick the right company, right? This is totally different. It's not about who you work for anymore. It's about what you can build for yourself by using these new AI tools. The opportunities are personal now, and they are literally everywhere.
So what's really going on here? What's the big change? Just a year ago, the cool thing was what everyone was calling vibe coding. Basically, using AI to whip up some code for a simple, single-purpose app. And yeah, it was cool, but it was also pretty limited. Now, the whole game has changed. The entire conversation is about these generalist AI agents that can actually take on really complex jobs all by themselves. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. It used to be, hey AI, build me a tool that does this one thing. Now we're saying, hey AI, here are all the tools. Now go do the thing yourself. See the difference? Instead of building the software, the AI is now using the software, just like you or I would.
Okay, so that brings us to the million-dollar question. You're hearing this term AI agent everywhere now, but what does it actually mean? Let's cut through the hype and get right down to the simple but really powerful core idea. This right here, this is the whole thing. It sounds so simple, but it is incredibly powerful. An AI model that runs tools in a loop. Think about a standard AI like ChatGPT. It's just input, then output. You ask something, you get one answer back. That's it. An agent takes that same model, but it adds tools, and it gives it the ability to loop, to keep trying and thinking until the job is actually done.
Now this is where the magic really happens. This shows you that loop in action. You give it a big, vague goal, right? It then decides, okay, I'll start by searching YouTube. Then it analyzes what it finds, feeds that new info back to itself, brainstorms a whole plan, writes the code, and even tests it, all on its own. You don't have to step in at every turn. It just keeps working the problem. So this is the key takeaway. A standard AI, it gives you one shot. If the answer sucks, well, you got to rephrase and try again. An AI agent, on the other hand, gets a task and enters this continuous feedback loop. It's using tools, it's refining its own work over and over until it produces something genuinely useful. So now that we get this concept of the loop, you can start to see how this builds into something much, much bigger. We can actually stop thinking about AI as just a tool and start thinking about it as, well, a new member of your team. Honestly, even like a new employee.
And I mean a real employee. Instead of just giving it one-off tasks, you can actually hire an agent for an entire role. Just imagine having a brand deal negotiator that's analyzed all your past contracts and is handling new inquiries for you 24/7. Or a project manager that never needs a coffee break, a support rep that's always polite, or an EA that keeps your life perfectly organized while you sleep.
Honestly, the best way to get started is to treat it exactly like you're onboarding a new person. You have to train it. You give it super clear goals, you give it all the context it needs, maybe access to your files or examples of past work, you give it the right tools, and then you check its work and give it feedback so it gets better and better over time.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds really complex, probably super expensive. But the truth is, getting your foot in the door is surprisingly easy. You do not need a massive budget or to be some kind of coding genius to build your very first agentic workflow.
So let's just talk about cost right away. Forget spending thousands of dollars to get a single, useful workflow up and running once a day. You can literally get started for about $20 a month. That's less than a few fancy coffees for your own personal AI assistant.
And you can totally forget that myth about needing some dedicated, expensive computer running 24/7 in your closet. There are all these new services that run the agents for you up in the cloud. You can set the whole thing up right from your web browser, no special hardware needed at all.
Okay, so here it is, your simple four-step action plan. First, just identify one task, that one annoying, repetitive thing you hate doing on your computer. Second, use one of these new platforms to set up a scheduled automation for it. The tech term is cron job, but just think of it as a scheduled task. Third, and this is important, test it somewhere safe, like a dummy folder, just to see what it does. And fourth, iterate. Look at what it produced, give it some feedback, and help it get better.
So we've covered the what and the how, but let's finish up with the most important part, the why now. Because this moment, right here, right now, it is a unique and incredibly valuable window of opportunity.
And this slide says it all, doesn't it? The amount of time an agent can work on its own, on a really complex task, is just growing exponentially. Last year we were measuring it in a couple of hours. Today we're talking about many hours. But by the end of this year, the estimate is that we'll be measuring it in days.
And here's the absolute crucial point. Right now, setting this stuff up, yeah, there's still a little bit of friction. It's not a perfect one-click process just yet. And that little bit of difficulty, that is precisely where the opportunity is for individuals like you and me. Because the moment this becomes super easy for everyone, most of that value is just going to get sucked up by the big companies building these platforms. Right now, that friction is the value.
So that leaves us with just one final thought to chew on. With all this new power at your fingertips, what's the one annoying, time-sucking task that you're going to have your first AI agent solve?